Undefeated streaks remain intact for a couple people in the G1 going through night 10. I have not watched anything beyond night 10. I just finished up night 10 a couple hours ago, and I have not watched Thursday, Friday, today's, and then I think there's another show tomorrow, right? So like,
I think so, yeah. I just finished 11. I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, that is my plan for tomorrow. I think I mentioned it. I'm not sure if I mentioned it offline or not. We have a new dog that we were hoping would fit in with our family, but she does not. She really hates our current dog. And we still have her, though, and we were going to bring her to a foster home yesterday, but the rescue that we were working with says that they might have a permanent home set up. So we're like, well, we'll just hold on to her for a couple more days so she doesn't have to transition twice. So we just have her, and she's a handful. She's a really good girl. We love her very much, but unfortunately she just does not like our current dog, which is a real bummer because she's such a cuddle bug. We napped this afternoon. She slept under my covers for 4 hours this afternoon. And she's a big pit bull boxer mix. She's awesome, but we've been dealing with that, so I have not been watching that much wrestling. So that is what's been going on over here. But tonight we're going to be talking nights 9 and 10 of the G1 Climax 31 for 2021. And you're listening to That's Wrestling Podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on Twitch and on YouTube. So you can come follow those channels and come hang out with us and chit chat when we are live. And comments, question, feedback, you can find us at That's Wrestling 1 with the number 1 on the Twitter. You can send through there, or you can email me, Eric at that'swrestling.com. You can find the RSS feed over there as well if you cannot find it on your favorite podcast app. I'm not sure what podcast app that would be you're using if you can't find it, because that would be very obscure. And you can find Trae at Wrestleism on the Twitter. His handle is in the show notes as well. And yeah, we just finished up talking about AEW Rampage, so you can hear some other banter over there in that podcast. But tonight, we are going to be talking, or at least on this show, we're going to be talking about New Japan G1, and we're going to start it off with night 9 in Aichi, or is it Aichi?
Aichi. Nagoya. City is Nagoya.
They started off with Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Kosei Fujita, and this was a fine match. Fujita looks good. These two young lions, Fujita and Oiwa, both look really good, so I am looking forward to seeing them develop over the next year, 18 months or so. So good there. Obviously, Kanemaru won. That's fine.
Yeah, dude, I love watching these young lions. Fujita's he's aggressive. He's the Oiwa at times a little more tentative. Fujita just goes hard. He puts up a fight, but you know he lost to the young lions kryptonite, the Boston Crab.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed they're not doing the unofficial Block C where they're just rotating through 3 young lions, mostly because one of them's injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wish they went through them, because those were some of the most fun matches of the G1 last year. And those young lion matches, the 21 of them that we saw, or the 20 that we saw, quality wise stacks up against it would be it'd be top or close to it of the best match of the night on most cards, other than New Japan or AEW or something.
The quality of work is probably up there a little better than your average WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah. Then we move on to the bye match for Toru Yano. He takes on Bushi. Yano's been putting bags over people's heads, so they both end up with bags over their heads. Bushi sprays sanitizer in Yano's face and ties him to the barricade with a towel. A little later, Yano ties Bushi's mask to the barricade, but Bushi came prepared with some scissors hidden in his boot to cut the laces free, so he did not get counted out. Bushi is sent into an exposed corner a couple times, a dropkick off the second rope from Bushi, and then a dive to the outside. Yano pushes the ref and tries to blind Bushi, but he ends up blinding the ref. And then Bushi rolls up, but the ref doesn't see it. Bushi pulls the sack off of the ref's head, but then gets hit with a low blow and then gets rolled up.
It's funny, Yano has his black bag, and then Bushi has a freaking Louis Vuitton bag. Amused me. Yeah.
It was a lot of chuckle. It was a lot of what's the word that I'm looking for?
Yano.
That. I can't. There's a word that I had and I totally lost it. But anyways, shenanigans. Well, that was not the word I was looking for, but it was just shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Then we move into a block match of actual consequence, and this is Great-O-Khan versus Kenta. Before they start the match, Kenta gets on the mic, and I guess what was conveyed is that the loser would have to bow to the winner.
Yeah, and apparently the most subservient, humiliating way.
Kenta used a very Yano tactic here. He hid under the ring, and he came out from behind Khan and attacked him. They do a bit of grappling in the ring. They give each other some free strikes. And back to grappling on the ground. Khan works a head and arm choke. Khan hits a basement dropkick to Kenta when he was in the Tree of Woe. Kenta spikes Khan with a DDT, hits a green killer for 2. They then slap the shit out of each other until Khan drops. Kenta calls for the GTS, but Khan puts on the claw for a second. Kenta hits a jumping knee. Khan again escapes a GTS. Kenta pushes Khan into the ref and then crashes into Khan to make sure that the ref is taken out. Kenta grabs a chair, gives Khan a few chair shots to the back, lays out Khan, and then lays the chair across him and goes up top. And he even puts on Khan's hat that was hanging on the on the ring post, hits a double stomp onto the chair to Khan. And then Kenta grabs a baseball bat from under the ring. Kenta takes a swing. Khan grabs it and takes it away. And Kenta does the Eddie Guerrero frame job. So he takes a dive, and Khan gets caught holding the bat. And then he rolls up Khan, fistful of trunks, and gets the victory. So Kenta now at 8 points. Khan also at 8 points.
This was certainly a thing that happened. Kenta, I don't know. It ain't hitting for me this time around.
Yeah, I mean, he had who did he have a good match with? Did he have a good? I don't remember who else he had a good match with. Did he already face Zack Sabre?
No, I think that is night 13.
Right.
He had a good match with Ichii.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was a good match. After the match is over, Kenta demands his respect be paid. So Khan bows, but then hits Kenta with an eliminator and walks out.
Completely justified.
Yeah. Yujiro Takahashi with 4 points versus actually not with 4 points, with 2 points versus Tonga Loa with 4 points.
Count the Naito points because he beat Ibushi, remember?
Oh yeah. So I wrote this incorrectly. It's Tonga Loa that only has 2 points, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I had it switched on who had the points.
No, because I have this. Give me just a second. I have this written down. What day was this? 1 second.
Going into night 9. So whatever it was at the end of night 7.
Third. Okay, so yeah, no, okay, yeah, I think you're right. Okay, yeah, Tangaloa came into this match with 2 points.
Okay,
right.
All right. So I had him swapped on my card right here. So Yujiro comes in with 4. Tangaloa comes in with 2. They trade faking the 2 sweet, and they attack each other. Tangaloa hits a standing moonsault for 2. Tangaloa gives Yujiro a backdrop on the apron, and then a slingshot senton for 2. Hits a power slam for 2. Tangaloa works a Cobra clutch, and Yujiro gets to the ropes. Yujiro sends Tangaloa to the outside, hits him with a dive. Tangaloa comes right back with a blue thunder bomb for 2. We get the Olympic slam from Yujiro, power bomb from Tangaloa for 2, Miami shine from Yujiro for 2, and then Tangaloa hits apeshit and gets the win. So they leave the evening with 4 points each.
This was good.
Yeah, Tangaloa's matches have all been, I thought, pretty good.
It was dirty-ish, but it was a fair fight. Like, I like that. A clean, dirty fight. Yujiro was on some shit. He did like a wild tope suicida and was just doing. But Yujiro has had his work boots on this tournament, and yeah, this was quite good. I had, I remember writing it in my notes for night 11. Got a lot good to say about Tangaloa, and he's proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, I heard that the match on night 11 was really good. I haven't seen it yet, and I don't even remember who it was with. Who was it with?
Oh, I should remember this because I just watched it. Give me 1 second. Terrible Kota Ibushi.
Okay, so I mean, Kota Bushi, you probably should be able to have a good match, and with Tangaloa, it should have been a pretty awesome match. So I'm looking forward to watching that probably tonight. Yeah. Next up, we had Tomohiro Ishii versus Zack Sabre Jr. And we start off with a bunch of reversals. Zack almost pins Ishii with a clutch pin, but Ishii slips out. Zack makes some poor choices and trades strikes with Ishii. Zack attacks the arm with a bunch of different attacks. Stomps, cranks, arm breakers. Ishii hits some hard chops, even though it's hurting him as well, which has been the ongoing story throughout this tournament, with Ishii having to cinch down his compression sleeve so tight that he can't feel his arm anymore. Zack tried to get on a hold. Ishii just follows through, though, with the movement and just overhead tosses Zack. I thought this was a great little spot. Zack runs in, tried to grab on like a guillotine or flying guillotine, and Ishii just keeps him moving, tosses him. Zack hits a sunset bomb off the top rope for 2. Zack tries to get on an armbar, but they're too close to the ropes. German suplex from Ishii. Back to working submissions from Zack. Ishii gets to the ropes. Ishii hits a couple strikes, or gets hit with a couple strikes from Zack, and then he just drops Zack with a punch. A bunch of shots from each guy back and forth in different configurations. We get an enziguri from Ishii, and then a power bomb for 2. Near fall from Zack using a crucifix pin. Zack tries a bridge pin for 2. Zack hits a brainbuster and then grabs on a Kimura. They shift positions. Zack goes for a straight armbar, moves into a triangle choke, back to the straight armbar, back to the triangle. Ishii stomps on the head to get out. So he kind of posted up and stood up, and Zack is still holding the triangle. And Ishii kicks him in the head a couple times. Ishii wipes out Zack with a big lariat after Zack kicks his arm a couple times. Ishii pulls the compression straps off and hits a sliding lariat for 2. Then Ishii hits the vertical drop brainbuster, and Tomohiro Ishii hands Zack his first loss in the tournament. Ishii with 6 points after this match, Zack remaining at 8.
I love this match. It was great. Like, it's just another one of those combinations that does not miss. Their matches always rule. And this was... This was my favorite match of the tournament for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. This was a great match. I mean, Ichii is probably one of the easiest guys to have a good match with, because it's like, okay, I'm going to just punch you a bunch of times, you punch me a bunch of times, and we'll just do that for 15 minutes, and it will be awesome.
And see, I think the same thing about Zach. Like, he can lead a dead man through a chain wrestling sequence, and he just, like, Zach just does his shit, and it's always great.
Yeah, basically it's just don't fight back, and let me just wrap you up in 4 ways from Sunday for like 5 minutes straight, and then basically, if he's doing this with Ishii, then be like, okay, Ishii, then you punch me for a while, and then I'll wrap you up for a while. Just don't resist, and then we'll go to the finish.
Yeah, that's probably why their dynamic works so well together.
Yeah. Then we had Kota Ibushi with 6 points versus Shingo Takagi, also with 6 points. They had a short feeling out before they finally get into some short little chain sequences here and there. We get an early pumping bomber from Shingo to the back of the head, and then Ishii is sent to the floor. And this is the beginning of Shingo on the offensive. Get some basic work done, a little light work to the neck. Some strikes, and then he spikes him with a DDT for 2. And then we get Zombie Ibushi makes a short appearance and slaps the ever-living shit out of Shingo. They both go down. Ibushi hits a snap Rana. A few moments later, hits an Asai moonsault to the floor. Springboard dropkick back in the ring. Power slam, and then a second rope springboard moonsault. Shingo comes back with a pop-up Death Valley driver. Ibushi blocks a suplex, so Shingo turns it right into a twisting neckbreaker instead. It was basically a twist and shout. Ibushi gets hit with a Saito suplex, and he comes back immediately, hits a half and half. They stand and trade, Shingo with chops and Ibushi with mid kicks. Shingo hits a few jabs and a dragon screw right at the 15-minute mark. They lariat the crap out of each other. They're just both out on their feet and just running into each other, hitting each other with stuff. And then eventually they just both go out and collapse. I always love this spot when both guys are just like on instinct and just trying to hit stuff, and then they just both go down.
Yes.
They fight on the top rope. Shingo hits a superplex. Actually, it was basically a super brainbuster because it was super high angle how it came down. Ibushi landed. That was not what was written. High angle, and Bushi landed, so it was basically a brainbuster. He gets a 2 count out of that. Ishii takes a swing at Shingo, but Shingo just turns it right into a Made in Japan for a 2. Ibushi fights out of a Last of the Dragon, hits a few knee strikes. Roundhouse kick from Ibushi, and then a Bomaye last ride powerbomb at the 20-minute mark for a 2 count. Shingo blocks the Kamigoye and hits a massive knee strike of his own. Turns Ibushi inside out with a pumping bomber for 2. Ibushi fights out of a Last of the Dragon again, but eats a bunch of strikes, and Ibushi fires one back of his own. A couple of back and forth, and then a massive head kick, then a Kamigoye. Shingo kicks out. Ibushi pulls down the knee pad. Shingo catches the knee, lifts up for Last of the Dragon, but Ibushi counters with a Poison Rana, a V-trigger, and then a Kamigoye to the back of the head, and then a Kamigoye to the face, and Kota Ibushi pins the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, picking up his 2 points, going up to 8. Shingo remains at 6.
This is the match that we've been waiting for. We were supposed to get at the Tokyo Dome back in July, and Ibushi was sidelined with his illness. It's like right from the get-go, this felt like the 2 top guys in New Japan fighting for supremacy. It's like, I don't even know what else to say. It's Shingo and Ibushi. If you know New Japan, it's self-explanatory. And this was beautiful and perfect, and go watch it right now.
Yeah, this is good, and of course, since he just pinned the champion, it would make sense that we're going to see Kota Ibushi versus Shingo again coming up soon before Wrestle Kingdom. That would be my assumption, at least.
Maybe. We'll see.
Or it will be one of the things that Shingo has to do at Wrestle Kingdom to defend. Yeah. To defend a couple times, or the world title will be defended a couple times during those shows. Because Zach has already pinned him or submitted him, and Bushi pins him here. So we have at least 2 challengers lined up for Shingo after the G1 is over.
Yeah, I'm still hoping that Zach gets the power struggle shot. Like I said, there's 3 days of Wrestle Kingdom, so we'll see what happens.
With a gap between night 2 and 3 of like 4 days.
Yeah.
There was no Chris Charlton, so no translation on what Ibushi said. He said something directed at Shingo. That's about all I could get from it.
I assume that he said, I won't quit, I won't something else, I won't betray you.
Yeah, something along those lines. Next up, we had Night 10 in Kurikan Hall, Tokyo. And this was on October 4th, 2021. They kick off the show with Hiroshi Tanahashi jerking the curtain. Little bummer on that. Against Chase Owens, but how this thing went down, it kind of made sense. If Owens loses and Cobb wins on this night, Owens will be eliminated from the tournament. They start off with some early rolling. Tanahashi hits the second rope crossbody, plays a little air guitar. Chase does the same, but when he goes to play the air guitar, it is out of tune. So he has to tune the air guitar, which I thought was a great little thing right there. Chase attacks the knee of Tanahashi. Tanahashi thrown into the corner, but comes out with a flying forearm. Body slam, second rope somersault senton for 2. Chase suckers Tanahashi in, tries a roll-up, but fails. Chase hits a short pull-in lariat for 2. A few counters. Chase hits a jewel heist for 2. Tanahashi avoids the package pile driver, hits a dragon screw in the ropes, and then a sling blade for 2. Aces high, and then he goes up top for high fly flow, but Chase gets the knees up. Chase then goes up, tries a roll up with his feet on the ropes, but fails. Backslide for 2, and then he hits a massive C trigger from Chase, and and then hits a package pile driver, and Chase Owens beats Hiroshi Tanahashi, the current IWGP US Heavyweight Champion, no less. And then when Chase was leaving, he says, I can't wait to read the internet. There's a lot of people that are going to be pissed off. My first G1 win is over Tanahashi. No one can take that away from me.
Yeah, that was an upset. Holy shit. Kevin mentioned here that Jay White not being in the G1 was due to a green card issue, which makes a lot of sense. If because he's living in Florida now, if he's trying to get his U.S. green card, I think the deal is that you can't leave the U.S. for 6 months.
Yes.
So that would explain why he hasn't been to Japan since May.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I thought it was I didn't realize that they were referring to a U.S. green card. I thought it was a Japanese immigration issue that they were dealing with, and I'm like, oh well, Japan, it would probably be called something else other than a green card. But
it's funny, it's not even green anymore, but
right.
it was green like 100 years ago, so we still call it a green card.
Yeah.
They talked up White giving Owens advice on Tanahashi, which because nobody is better at beating Tanahashi than Jay White apparently, and I guess it worked.
It did. All right, then we go on to Tanga versus Evil. Jado and Dick have a chit chat beforehand. Looks like all 4 guys are on the same page as they all do a 2 sweep before the match starts. Evil tries to sucker Tama in, but Tama is ready for it, and he goes on the offensive. Dick, of course, is untying a corner pad already. Tama sees this happening sees it loosened, but when Tama goes in for a splash on Evil, Evil moves out of the way while grabbing the pad and exposes the corner, and Tama slams right into it. Evil takes over shortly until Tama moves out of the way, and Evil sends himself into the exposed corner. Tama hits 3 drop kicks in a row. Evil sent into the exposed corner again, and then Tama Tonga hits the splash in that same corner for a 2 count. We get a Tongan death grip, and the ref recognizes that it was not a choke and lets him keep it on. Tama then puts on a sharpshooter, or I guess the Dark Scorpion, or whatever you want to freaking call it. That's got like 800 names at this point. In the middle,
sorry, got to me.
In the middle of the ring, Evil gets out and he gets on the Dark Scorpion himself, but Tama gets to the ropes. Tama hits a Tongan twist. Tama blocks a low blow and hits his follow-through Death Valley driver. I guess they're calling it a Death Valley bomb.
They've always called it a Death Valley bomb in Japan. Just because a driver is like a move that drops you on your head.
Sure. And then a big top rope splash for 2. And then the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, the ref is down. Dick is choking Tama. Jado attacks Dick from behind with the kendo stick. Evil hits a low blow. Everything is evil against the pin.
Yeah.
And then
the highlight of this.
And then we find out that Sho was the one who decided to go turn off the lights because Dick Togo was out and occupied.
There goes that mystery. Yeah. The highlight for me was Tonga blocking the Scorpion Deathlock with the Tongan Death Grip. I enjoyed that. I like Tonga doing the Tongan Death Grip. This was like mostly a pretty competitive match. I just don't have the capacity to care anymore. I don't trust anything that Evil is with.
Pretty much. Yeah. That was a big bummer. I kind of wanted Tama to win this one. Actually, so did the crowd. The crowd was clearly cheering for Tama, and they mentioned it on commentaries like, this guy hasn't been cheered in like 10 years.
Yeah, I think everybody universally is just fucking sick of Evil.
So Evil leaves this night with 6 points, Tama Tonga with 2 points. Then we have Jeff Cobb with 8 points versus Taichi with 4. We get a couple lockups early, and Cobb obviously shows his power. Taichi hits a kick to the knee, and Cobb rolls to the outside. Taichi throws Cobb into the barricade, chokes Cobb with the camera cable. Cobb comes back after catching an enziguri and just tosses Taichi overhead like a sack of potatoes. He stands on Taichi's back a couple times, so he goes surfing a little bit on his back. Drives him corner to corner a few times. Cobb just sends Taichi flying with a sumo block, and that makes Taichi mad because Taichi really likes sumo wrestling. Taichi hits a hook kick. Cobb escapes an octopus but eats an enziguri in the corner. Kicks to the chest, a round kick to the back of the head from Taichi. Cobb comes back with a lariat and a spin cycle for 2, standing moonsault for 2. Cobb goes for Tour of the Islands, but Taichi gets out of it by choking Cobb, the Roman Greco throw hold. He hits a high kick and a dangerous suplex for 2. Super kick from Cobb, enziguri from Taichi, Gato clutch for 2. Huge right hand from Cobb just crumples Taichi. He goes for Tour of the Islands, but Taichi hits Axe Bomber. Cobb blocks the Black Mephisto and hits a German suplex. Then he hits Tour of the Islands and gets the win. So Cobb maintains his undefeated streak, now with 10 points, and Taichi with 4. And this win for Cobb now eliminates Goto, I believe. Or at least they're pretty sure.
This was like the best Taichi match. Like, it's 50-50 as to which Taichi you're going to get, and Taichi was working his ass off. This match was shockingly great.
Mm-hmm. Very good match. Taichi, it is up and down with Taichi, and this one was an up.
Yeah.
And Goto looks like he is eliminated after this one because he has lost to both Okada and Cobb, and they would have tiebreakers over him.
Yeah.
And the most he could do is get 10 points at this point. So we go into the match of Hirooki Goto with 0 points versus Yoshi-Hashi with 2 points. So we have the never open weight 6-man champions fighting each other. And because they are friends, they just beat the shit out of each other. They just run right at each other and start fighting as soon as the bell rings. Yoshi-Hashi shoulder blocks Goto, a bunch of forearms in the corner from both guys. One guy hits 10, they swap places. The other guy hits 10, they swap places. The other guy hits 10, they swap places. The other guy hits 10. Goto fires back with a shoulder block of his own. Goto on the outside is then sent into the barricade, or sends himself into the barricade because Yoshi-Hashi sidestepped. Yoshi-Hashi throws Goto into the ring post, then throws him into the barricade, hits a neckbreaker on the floor. Goto makes the 20 count at 19. A little work on the neck from Yoshi-Hashi. He hits a headhunter for a 2 count. Shots back and forth. Backdrop from Goto. Then he hits a bulldog for 2. They collide in the middle a few times, both throwing lariats. Goto hits a reverse GTR for 2. And then Yoshi-Hashi hits Goto's move. He hits the Shoten Kai, and they double down. They start throwing forearms on their knees, work their way to their feet, still throwing, and then Goto slaps the taste out of Yoshi-Hashi's mouth into the third row. Desperation headbutt from Yoshi-Hashi, and they both double down. We get a double knees from Yoshi-Hashi for 2. Super kick. Komigoroshi from Yoshi-Hashi for 2. He puts on the rear naked choke. Goto avoids karma, but eats a chop and then hits a step-in headbutt. They both go down again. We get a TTW from Goto for 2. We get a Shoten Kai from him, and then a GTR, and Goto gets his first win in the G1 over his tag partner. So both guys leaving with 2 points at the end of the evening.
Yeah, the old wrestling adage holds true. You hit your friends harder than you hit anybody else. They beat the shit out of each other. They're like both throwing these violent forearms, and the selling and the facials are just so outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And Yoshi-Hashi looked like he had it in hand, and he was putting the pressure on Goto. Goto broke his momentum by headbutting him in the face. I so wish they wouldn't do that. And then the GTW and the Shoten Kai and the GTR, and Goto gets some consolation points even though he is mathematically eliminated.
Yep.
But this was pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we had Kazuchika Okada with 8 points versus Sanada with 4. They talk about how the last 3 times Okada has beaten Sanada, they were all over 30 minutes. And the last match that Sanada won was last year's G1 at 29:40. So just before the time limit.
2019 G1.
Was it 2019? I thought it was last year.
No, I think they were in different blocks last year. Oh. It was the 2019 G1 because it was Sanada ended up getting the title shot at King of Pro Wrestling that
right.
year.
Yeah. All right, so we get some light submission wrestling to start with. Shoulder block and then a elbow drop from Okada for 2. No, not for 2. There was no pin there. Arm drag drop kick from Sanada. Sanada gets on the Paradise Lock after a second try, after failing the first. He hits a back elbow, but then Sanada misses a standing moonsault. Okada hits a back elbow of his own, spike DDT for 2, neckbreaker for 2, puts on the bow tie with the knee to the back for good measure. He hits a body slam, and then Okada goes for a senton, but Sanada moves and hits a drop kick to the knee. They work at a pretty methodical pace throughout this entire match. There's really no there's little bursts here and there, but it's a really methodical match. Sanada hits another drop kick to the knee. Okada sets Sanada up on the top rope and hits him with a drop kick, and then hits a DDT on the floor at the 15-minute mark. He puts on the money clip. Sanada fights out of it, does a flip out of the corner and jams his knee. Back to the money clip. Sanada scoots to the ropes, body slam, and then Okada hits a top rope elbow. He calls for the Rainmaker. He goes for a Rainmaker, but Sanada reverses it into a skull end. Sanada then hits a TKO at the 20-minute mark. Skull in with the hooks on the ground. Sanada lets it go. Okada rolls out of the way of the moonsault. Sanada lands on his feet and hurts his knee again. But he puts on the skull end again. Okada makes it to the ropes. Sanada avoids the Rainmaker, but gets hit with a drop kick. Sanada hits a pop-up TKO and then a moonsault off the top, but he can only drape himself over for the cover. Okada kicks out. Okada does the backdrop and into the sit-down pin for a 2 count. Hits a spinning tombstone, but can't follow up. Sanada rolls out of the shotgun drop kick, but Okada then hits a German suplex, misses a Rainmaker. Sanada tries a roll-up, but can't get it. Sanada gets the skull end back on. But then we get some reversals from both guys. Okada misses a drop kick. They fight back and forth a little bit more. Then Okada hits the Falcon Arrow and then the Rainmaker and gets the victory at, I believe, 29-15 of this match.
I had 29-14, but yeah. Okay. So Sanada has like an inferiority complex about Okada, and you expect a great match, and you expect Sanada to lose, except for the one time when he didn't. So the fact that Sanada finally has a win over Okada creates that bit of doubt.
Yep.
You don't think Sanada's going to win, but he might.
Yes, this was a good match. It did feel a little slow for these two. I mean, they were obviously going to just shy of the time limit, so they had to pace themselves. But it did feel like that's what they were doing in spots. Yeah, it felt like they're hamming it up a little bit.
Yeah, it was really good, like it's gonna be between these two, and I feel like someday, eventually, like this will all pay off when Sanada beats Okada in a big match, like a world title match or a G1 final or something. Eventually, like, you know, next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean they're super close in age. Sanada's only 33. Actually, they're both 33. So. I'm pretty sure Sanada's 33. Sanada, wrestler.
Yeah.
He's 33 as well.
Okada turns 34 next month.
Yeah, so he's actually slightly older than Sanada. So, yeah. He's got time. I'm curious if Sanada does get a world title run.
Yeah, I think it's something that will happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's gonna be his time sometime in the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the crowd really likes him. He's really over the crowd. I don't think his charisma translates as well over to a Western crowd, which is fine. I mean, he's a really good wrestler and everything. I just don't. His mannerisms just don't hit with me for whatever reason. So it seems a little weird. But obviously the crowd really loves him, so whatever, perfectly fine. That's good. And he is a really good wrestler, so obviously he's gonna have good matches if he does indeed hold the world title at some point.
Yeah, they talked about a while back in one of these shows. In 2006, Naito, Sanada, and Yoshi-Hashi went to the same tryout for the New Japan Dojo and Naito was the only one that made it. And then Yoshi-Hashi kept coming back and eventually barely squeaked in. And Sanada went the other way. He went to All Japan and learned from Keiji Muto, which weirdly means he's like he is a very unique mix of New Japan and All Japan, because he went through the All Japan system, but he has the Muto influence. And
he's trained by Kojima as well.
Yeah. He's really fantastic.
Yeah. So that was the final match. So Okada leaves the night still undefeated as well. So he and Cobb are the two guys who are undefeated. The only two guys left in the tournament still undefeated. And Sanada leaves the night with 4 points. Okada on the mic says, thanks to all the support from the Korakuen fans means a lot. And even though the fans can't raise their voices, they're giving their all. He says 5 matches in, 5 wins. Maybe there won't be an upset. Okada is going to make it to the top. And he said with something along the lines of, with a new prime minister and a New Japan, Okada will stay on top and pull the New Japan forward. Who's going to stop the Rainmaker? Now the G1 hits the road, and it'll be a while before we're back in Tokyo. We're going to keep making it rain on this tournament.
Indeed.
So good to see the Rainmaker back here, and very interesting. He and Cobb are both undefeated through night 10. So, and
they should probably just both stay undefeated until the last night, right?
Right, where they face off in that match. So, I'd say it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on as far as New Japan goes before we wrap it up and I go watch some more New Japan so we can come back in like 2 days to cover some more of it?
Watch New Japan Strong tonight. They're airing the first of the shows from the tapings that I were at, and we've got Minoru Suzuki against Fred Rosser, Tom Lawler against Ren Narita for the Strong Openweight title, and Jay White versus Robbie Eagles. And it's all very good stuff. Go watch New Japan Strong.
Which was supposed to start 20 minutes ago, but it is not posted on New Japan World.
Well, it'll be there eventually.
They say October 10th. It's posted for October 10th, even though but it's October 10th in Japan. Right, but the schedule, the live schedule says October 9th, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. It's on the...
no.
It's on the
4 a.m. Eastern. No, wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's supposed to be today, 8 p.m. Eastern.
It's up there now on like the main streaming thing.
I will check it out. All right. Is that it before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I reckon.
All right, cool. So thanks everybody for listening to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live on Twitch and on YouTube. So you can follow the links in the show notes to those channels. So you can come hang out with us while we're doing the show and chit chat if you would like. It also lets you know when we go live or when we schedule a live stream and all that fun stuff. You can follow us on the Twitter at That's Wrestling 1. With the number 1 at the end. You can come hang out in our Discord as well. Link is in the show notes to all of that stuff. And you can follow Trae at Wrestleism. His handle is also in the show notes. So go do that. And for Trae, my name's Eric. You've been watching and listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.